Hello and welcome. I'm Giovanni Colbert, and today I'm just working on my version 2 of this Chun-Li drawing. I decided to go back to it and fix it up, make it a different version, because I really like the old school design, the spiky bangles, the ribbons. So yeah, we're gonna go back there and touch it up. We'll go from there. Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram, Blue Sky, Tumblr, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, and Patreon for more. It's on your bio. Also, I'll be listening to the True Mango, I'm sorry, Rotten Mango podcast in the background. Let's get into it. Okay.
Bada bing, bada boo.
There is a certain process of elimination when you are at the scene of a death. Some cases are obviously going to be trickier than others. Some cases, the whole time, the investigators are debating, first of all, how? Like, how did this even happen? We don't know. And if this is what truly happened, if our theory is correct, are we sure that's what really happened? That's what the investigators are doing. But for Detective Ryan, this case starts off really easy. Dead man in the living room in his own house. He's dead in his living room, in his house, in like a secluded wooded area. He walks in. Was it natural? That's the first question. Well, no, because there's droplets of blood right at the entrance of the house. It doesn't seem like it was natural. Detective Ryan steps into the house a little bit deeper now. Was it a robbery gone wrong? The door shows no signs of forced entry. He steps inside further, and there are just streaks of blood everywhere. One of the other officers walks straight up to him and just says, "Well, somebody tried to cut this dude's head off. Murder. That's what this is. We got the how. The cause of death is murder with a hunting knife." By the clues left behind in the living room, nothing of value is taken. All of the blood is concentrated near the couch in this living room area. Whoever did this hunted the dead man. It's like they hunted them and killed him in his own living room. And it wasn't quick either. Like, there are slash wounds all over this man's body. His throat is nearly slit. You can see the bone on both sides. There's blood all over the walls. There's blood soaking into the carpets. This guy was hunted. He was killed rather painfully, rather violently in his own living room. The first interesting detail that sticks out to Officer Ryan is that there's this bloody footprint that just feels so out of place. Obviously, there's gonna be lots of bloody footprints all over this living room, but it's concentrated in this specific living room area, except this one clear bloody footprint right in front of the door to the primary bedroom. It's almost like the killer, whoever this person is, walked over there, put one foot just outside the door, never stepped inside. What are they doing? Detective Ryan steps inside the master bedroom and he starts looking around. And that's when he sees it. He's like, did the killer slit that man's throat, walk over to this bedroom to spit on the bed? Detective Ryan knows instantly that whoever did this knows the dead man, targeted the dead man, hunted the dead man, and left a giant trail of evidence. It's not long after that that Detective Ryan is gonna find the killer. And he's got a lot of questions to ask this killer. And so do we. Can you take us to when we're in the car after you kill Dennis?
I was bleeding severely. I had a severe wound. Speaking to my buddy in the passenger seat, I was not even thinking about getting away with it. I was thinking about stopping the blood flow.
Did you have a hole in your hand?
I did. I put a knife right through it, severed the ligaments and tendons.
How long was the knife?
It was a hunting knife, so they're about 6 inches long, 8 inches.
And that was also the murder weapon?
Yes.
Did you take the murder weapon with you or did you leave it?
Took it.
And there was blood everywhere. Was it coming from your hand or was it someone else's blood?
A mixture.
Did you feel the need to get rid of the blood?
I had a glove on, and when I got back to my house, I could wring out the glove. It was just pouring out of me, and it was everywhere in my garage.
Can you walk me through the hole in your hand?
See, it wasn't straight through the hand. It was down this way and out this way, so it went the whole length. and you could see pretty deep into because it was wide open at the time.
And you're just driving with one hand.
I had the glove on at the time, so I couldn't see it until I got back and standing in my garage, pulled the glove off, and then I was like, "Oh boy, we got a problem."
Did it hurt? The hole in the hand?
Yeah, but I was full of adrenaline and cocaine and alcohol. I wasn't fixated on the pain.
Oh, thank you.
Pain didn't bother me at the time.
Yeah, I just went back.
The next
This is a
morning,
different version.
police are
Revisit it,
surrounding your house.
but I did start a
and
new drawing
you
on my
pour a
last
glass
stream.
of Chardonnay.
But I didn't have enough time today to work on it, so I'm just revising
How many
this
police
one.
officers are outside
Thanks
trying
for
to
the
arrest
likes, appreciate
you?
it. Yeah.
12 to 20.
Are you scared?
And this will be going on Patreon.
I'm thinking life is over.
Your attorney describes it as horrific crime scene photos after you left Dennis's house. Have you seen those photos?
I have.
Did you feel anything when you saw it?
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Don't worry, we started new artwork.
Honestly, no.
I actually started one last night stream.
Dennis's obituary reads, "To those who knew him well, he will be remembered as a great man who always went above and beyond the call of duty, and one whose love and loyalty for his friends was unparalleled." Do you agree with that?
No, I do not agree with that.
You provided to us your records, like your psychology records from when you were in jail and then later prison. Psychologist asked you, do you feel relief after the homicide? And you say, I can't say that. Things were out of control. No relief.
Yeah, what happened in that night was horrific. In his house was horrific, and it wasn't anything to sit back and rejoice over. It was a bloody, gory, horrific event.
Do you remember how many times you stabbed him, or do you only know from what's been told?
Only from what I've been told.
Initially, when you were first arrested, I think there was questions of maybe there is an insanity plea. Maybe there are all these other things. And one report reads, the most outstanding clinical feature was the absence of any significant overt psychopathology. So does that mean that some psychiatrists were confused because you didn't strike them as a psychopath or someone
Thanks
that
for the
just
likes.
kills
Appreciate that, guys. Thanks.
out of nowhere?
Right, they didn't find any, anything psychologically wrong with me to do what I did.
You killed Dennis Pegg.
Why?
I did.
You stabbed him.
I did.
Reports say you slit his throat.
Yes.
You spit on his bed.
Yes.
And you drove off with a hole in your hand.
Correct.
And then you were arrested, and psychiatrists say that they found nothing wrong with you.
Correct.
And so technically you killed someone and you don't regret it.
No.
And everyone in town, while you're in jail waiting for a trial, a plea deal, waiting for whatever fate has in store, everyone in town has free Clark stickers on their cars.
What did this guy
People
do?
are writing articles. People are selling bumper stickers that say free Clark.
They were everywhere instantly, like in less than a week's time.
Why did you kill Dennis Pegg?
The short answer is he was a monster.
What's the long answer?
The long answer is he had a 45-year reign of terror in our little town of Stillwater, New Jersey, raping boys.
Oh.
Were you one of the boys?
So-
I was.
Okay. Valid.
Most
That
people know
promote
Grammarly as a
violence,
spelling
but
and grammar tool, but it's actually so much
makes
more than that.
sense.
It can look at whatever you're writing, and it will automatically suggest spelling and grammatical changes that you could potentially make.
I was
And
wondering,
if you
why
want, you can
would
always
they,
highlight the text, and then the AI
have such
writing
a person
assistant
like
can
that on their
improve whatever
show?
you've written for you. But where
That's
Grammarly really
crazy.
shines is in Grammarly Pro. Firstly, there is the goals feature. So the idea here is that whenever you are writing anything, you can set a goal for whatever the thing is that you're writing. And so you can select the domain, so academic, business, general, email, casual, creative. You can set your intent, so informing, describing, convincing, telling a story. You can define what kind of audience you're writing for, so general, knowledgeable, or expert. And you can also define how informal or neutral or formal you'd like the tone to be. And then the really cool thing is that the goals feature integrates with their strategic suggestions feature. So with whatever you're writing, it can make strategic suggestions by anticipating potential questions and filling in those gaps up front, like providing context or offering solutions to a problem. Grammarly's generative AI can also make suggestions for other.
I was reading in your memoir, Scarred. You were born with a hole in your heart.
I was just a defect in my heart, and the doctors monitored me for the first 6 years of my life, and they told my parents we were down to a 6-month window to operate to repair it.
And so you had the surgery and you have a scar that you call a zipper.
You know, with all the stitching, it looks just like a zipper.
I know in the beginning when you were a kid, you were bothered by the scar. Is that something you're still bothered by?
No, I've come to make peace with my scar.
So, okay, what was your first impression of Dennis? I know in your memoir you talk about how he came over and he offered you $1 to touch your scar because it was the thing that your parents were doing to try to get you to be proud of your scar, was to show people for quarters.
Right. You're going back, to 1971 to have open heart surgery as a 6-year-old child. Open heart surgery today is still a risky endeavor. So they were extremely proud of me for surviving this. I was in Mount Sinai Hospital in New York City for a month straight. And they were so proud. They just wanted to show me off to their friends. And they thought a neat way to, when you're a kid, you just want to fit in with all the other kids.
Yeah.
I had something now that made me stick out from everybody. So they just thought it would be a way to get me comfortable with it by showing it to their friends and collecting a quarter.
Dennis Pegg was a family friend.
That's kind of interesting.
He was my brother's boy. I had a brother who was 6 years older than me, Jay, and he was my brother's Boy Scout leader. And we had a lot of land where we lived in New Jersey, and he would hunt on our land with my father and brother. I wasn't old enough yet, and my parents owned a restaurant back then, and my father put on big Sunday night meals, and he would come every Sunday and have dinner with us and tell stories about. He worked at the county jail as a sheriff's officer, and he would tell stories about there.
Do you think that he targeted your family to get close to you guys, or do you think he genuinely was just friendly with your parents?
Targeted. Predators have to win over, one, they have to win over their community so nobody would ever suspect them. 2, they have to win over the family. And then last, they have to win over the victim.
Can you tell me about the moment that he saw your scar?
It was just a couple months after I had the surgery. Everybody in my family was in our backyard, and I came inside to get a drink and watch cartoons for a minute. And Dennis came to the front door, which was right next to our den. And I heard his voice, and I bounded up. I loved Dennis. I just thought he was great. He always had his gun on and a badge. And I let him in, and he asked where everybody was. And I told him everybody was out back. And he said, let's sit in the den for a minute. And then he said, hey, I got a quarter. Can I see your scar? Didn't think anything of it. Lifted my shirt, showed him. And he said, I've never seen a scar so raised up like yours. I have keloid condition, so my scar is pronounced. And he goes, how about I give you $1 if you let me touch it? I couldn't possibly think of, in my little 6-year-old mind, of any ulterior motives he would have. And I said, sure, Den. And he took his big, meaty fingers and he ran them up and down my scar. And then he went below my scar line to like my belt line. and he was just probing and saying, "Is your stomach sore from the surgery?" And I'm like, "No, not at all, Den." And he's like, "Okay." He's like, "This has to be our little secret." He goes, if you tell your parents that I gave you $1 for touching your scar, we can't be buddies." And I'm like,
See, that's where it starts. That's why I'm always worried when people are saying it's our little secret, especially to younger children. Because sometimes, unfortunately, our mind goes to the worst spot. But that's how it starts. That's why you gotta teach your kids. There should be no secret between adults and children. That's just between the parents, whatever. For example, financial issues, or your parents bought you a snack or something. One of your other citizens know. But there should be no secrets between adults and kids in that regard. Obviously, there's still things like your grandma gives you $25. That's your little secret. But you know what I mean.
I can keep a secret.
So when he's like
Teach your
probing and
kids,
touching, did it just
especially with
feel like,
strangers.
because you had just gotten out of surgery, did it just feel like another adult that's maybe making sure you're okay?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that the feeling?
Yeah, and I had, like I said, there wasn't one thought in my mind that he could have any other reason to touch other than he cared about me and my well-being.
Throughout the book, you describe him as having meaty fingers. And I know a lot of cases that we cover, a lot of victims remember specific sensations or very specific scents even. Is that something that you remember distinctly as meaty fingers?
Yeah, he was a big hulking guy, and I was a little tiny kid back then. When I say hulking, he was probably 265 pounds, and just one of those big, beefy guys. Him touching my scar stands out so pronounced in my mind, and the visualization of his big, meaty fingers is ingrained in my memory. I wish I could scrape it off and remove it, but I can't. It's ingrained in there.
I'm assuming that's a worse memory than the actual open heart surgery.
Yeah, it's he ruined my open heart surgery, ruined my scar. I hated my scar because what would happen later on. And he's the reason for me hating the way I looked.
Did he have any sort of fascination with your scar, or was it truly 100% just an excuse to start grooming you?
Yeah, I don't think he had any things with a predator. They're never the way they seem. A predator is a chess master, always multiple steps ahead of you. So everything may seem one way, but to them it's complete other way. And I don't think he cared two hoots about my scar. It was just an avenue to get what he ultimately wanted.
You guys would go fishing. There would be a lake. You and a bunch of boys would go fishing. Dennis Pegg would constantly be there. And there was an issue with the sunfish, these little fish in the lake that don't taste good. They're not edible fish?
Yeah, I mean, they're tiny. So you to fillet a sunfish, you'd have to fillet a lot of them to get any meat off of there.
So it's mainly sunfish.
Right down by the dam, there'd be a lot of sunfish, and they're a really gullible fish where you don't even need to put a worm on a hook. You could just put your hook in the water, and they see the bright shimmering, and they just latch onto it, and you catch them and you just release them, or so we thought.
He does not catch and release them. What did he do?
No, and again, for me to say he didn't like sunfish is wrong, because he's a chess master. Remember, he's a predator, and he's one step ahead of us, 2 steps, 3 steps ahead of us. He would tell us little boys that sunfish were a worthless fish and that they
Thanks for the
needed to
follow.
be killed.
Appreciate that.
And he would catch them and stomp on them with his boot, or he would catch them, throw them in the grass alongside the river, and then pick up a big rock and smash it down on them. And he'd be like, that's what you do to things that are worthless.
So everything's like a means to an end for him. So he just wants to scare everyone?
It's a control thing. It's a domination thing. It's also to let you know if he considers you worthless, this is what will happen to you. You know, we're down there as a group of young boys, and it's not just me. He's targeting. He's targeting all of us, and letting us all know how he feels about worthless things.
This is a little sidetracked, but I was doing research into sunfish because I didn't even know what they looked like. And in a lot of indigenous cultures, they're actually known for protecting the young.
Really?
That's like they're some of the fiercest protectors of their young.
Wow.
Like they will stay by their young for 10 to 14 days and starve themselves just to protect them. And so it seems almost ironic that he specifically did not like sunfish as well.
Interesting.
Wow,
It's
I didn't
very
know that.
interesting.
Never heard that. Yeah, it's amazing.
So in one of the court documents, it mentions that did he drink a goldfish or he bit a goldfish in half, spit the halves into his beer? Did he drink the beer with the goldfish?
Yeah. And he said he used to do that with his army buddies.
Have you ever thought about crafting your own hot sauce?
That is
It's super
interesting.
simple. Anyone can do it. And with Bernardin, you can. Hot sauce you're going to want to put on everything. Visit bernardin.ca for more recipes and ideas.
You don't have to go far to feel far away. Book your next weekend getaway with Verbo.
And he would just make you guys watch.
Made me watch. This was at his house.
You're saying that he will bite a goldfish in half?
Yeah, he bit a goldfish in half and then swallowed it down with his beer. And you can make up whatever psychological reference you want. Again, it's to scare me. It's to show violence to me.
Like his demeanor during all of it is just...
Dennis was a light switch. He could be one way, outgoing, friendly, gregarious, fun-loving. Instantly, eyes dilate, turn black, and he becomes a completely different person.
What happens at the Polaroids?
Yeah. Down at the lake again. I lived at a lake community, and there was a dam area. And the dam would separate the lake and then into the river. And that's where all us kids would hang out and play. He did everything out of the watchful eye of my parents. When everything happened, my mother said, I never even saw him with you. And I'm like, everything happened down at the lake. And he was giving beer to us young boys, not just me, down there. So I'm like 9 years old. Get a picture of a little 9-year-old. He invites me into his pickup truck down at the lake, and let's have a beer. So he gives me a beer. And I thought it was great. Here's a lieutenant. He's a lieutenant in the sheriff's department. And I'm getting to have a beer with him. I'm thinking, this is fantastic. And he says, one of my friends just bought a old farmhouse, and there was a old desk left behind. So I started going through the drawers, and it was filled with porno pictures. You want to see some? And I'm like thinking like Playboy magazine type stuff. He, he had cargo shorts. Cargo shorts had the big pockets on them. So he opens up his cargo shorts pockets and takes out a handful of Polaroid pictures. And he's looking at them, and he just starts giggling like a little schoolboy would giggle. And he's like, oh, these are a riot. He's like, here. And it was a close-up of a young penis. And he's like, here's another one. And here's another one. And it was just penis after penis. And he's slapping my knee in his truck, laughing. Aren't these so funny? Aren't these a riot? And I'm like, where's all the women, Den? And he's like, oh, those must have been in the other drawer. Next time I go over to that house, I'll open up the other drawer for you. But look at these. Aren't these a riot? Aren't these so funny? And I'm just like,
So you think he took these Polaroids? I mean, there was no friend, there was no farmhouse.
No.
He took these.
Yes. Yeah. He always had large stories, and looking back now, I don't know if one of them was true. I have no idea.
He would invite you to his house, and then he would try to feed you beers and...
What would happen a lot is the dam area where I lived, the river went right through Stillwater to a bridge area, the Gristmill Bridge. There was a old gristmill right at the bridge. And he would say down at the dam area, the fish aren't biting that good. Let's go over, towards the gristmill. Or there's twin bridges in another section of the river. Or he'd say, let's go to the twin bridges. And he would always mysteriously slip in the mud. His foot would go into the mud. Or he'd slip and go into the river and get his boot wet. And we'd have to go to his house so he could change his sneaker or change his boots. And that's how he would get me over there. And then while we were there, well, let's have a beer while we're here. So it would be just to get me comfortable going to his house and having a beer at his house.
Were the houses like far apart, or did people see that there's constantly boys going in and out of his house?
No, he lived up a long driveway, and the house sat alone up there.
So you can't see anything. Like if you were to scream, people can't hear. It's pretty...
There was houses down below, but his was a driveway that went up, did a 90-degree turn to the house, and it was the only house up there. His house, I don't want to call it a cabin. It was a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house. And it sat up on a hill that overlooked the elementary school playground.
Was he like looking there all the time? Was he outside?
I went to that elementary school, Stillwater Elementary School. I was in Little League baseball, and he was at every game that I can recall. Down on the fence, there was a fence that would go around the ball field. He would be down there. He would come around the fence to the bench where we'd sit at and grab your shoulders. Oh, great job out there. Great job.
That was always weird to me.
Just always down at the playground with the young kids.
No one thought it was weird? Because he
I
doesn't
don't
have
think
kids of his own, right?
Not married, no kids, but he's the lieutenant in the sheriff's department. He's the Boy Scout leader. The Boy Scouts did their meetings in the gym of the elementary school. So he's wrapped around everything in the town. He's on the Stillwater Historical Society board. The little old ladies loved him. I mean, this goes on for years now. The touching of the scar happened when I was 6 years old. It goes on to, like I said, inviting me into his truck down at the dam to have a beer with him. And this has to be our secret. And in my mind, I'm like, I don't want to ruin this, so I'm not going to tell my parents I had a beer with the lieutenant from the sheriff's department. This is fantastic. And he made you like his equal. He put you on equal. He made you like feel special, and it's us against the world. Everything he told me, I mean, one of the stories I recite is he was always taking trips out west. And on one of his trips, he said he met the Marlboro Man. Now, if you grew up in the 70s, 80s, the Marlboro Man was a fictional character, but on the back of every magazine with a Marlboro cigarette dangling in his mouth. And he was the coolest dude imaginable.
Thanks, appreciate that.
Dennis took the coolest, machoest guy in America and told me he met him on a trip and he was gay. He said, it didn't bother me in the least. He was such a great guy. We hung out for 3 days and had dinners and just spent a lot of time together. So, and again, he would say, this has to be our secret. Don't tell anybody the Marlboro Man's gay. He confided that in me, I don't want his secret getting out. Did he ever meet the Marlboro Man who played the Marlboro Man?
Yeah.
I have no idea. Probably not. Was the Marlboro Man gay? Who knows?
Yeah.
It's just like I said, nothing is ever as it seems with a predator. And so what's he doing? he's taking the machoist guy in America, fictional character, but machoist, and making him gay and trying to gauge my response and trying to normalize it. Like, hey, the machoist guy in the world is gay, you know, and that's, again, I that's what I would surmise he was doing. You know, I can't get into his mind.
I've been
No,
on
that's
Shopify
exactly
from
what
the
he was doing.
beginning.
Nothing wrong with
The
being
platform
gay.
is just never a worry.
But it
Like I
seems
have
what
so
he's
many
trying to do.
worries, but the platform is never one.
He's trying to
I feel like
gauge his
Shopify really
reaction.
thinks about
to,
how they can optimize. It just always feels very
gay
ahead of the
people.
curve.
He's trying
Everything
to
is
make a move on us.
super easy to connect and link. They really know what we need.
Yes, him,
Time and
I'm
money
guessing
that is
he's also a gay
saved.
man.
I can spend on other
Most
things
inside.
and on growth.
He's a
I'm
bad-
Shirsa, founder of Isla, and my advice for entrepreneurs is definitely to level up
That's
with
some
Shopify.
crazy next level elimination right there. Definitely gauging his reaction.
He tries to start wrestling with you. That was kind of like
yes.
the gateway into.
Yeah,
Like,
you know, so he's
post-combat.
taken years now, you know, of porn pictures, Marlboro Man, beers, slipping into the river, go to the house, beers, you know, so he's invested years of grooming. And at some point you have to initiate more touch. That's why I see people tussle a young boy's hair and it just sends a chill down my spine.
Understandable.
Because to the normal person, it's like, oh, cute little Billy, you know? But to a predator, they need to initiate touch. And that little tussle of the hair
Understandable.
is going to go to a pat on the knee, is going to go to a pat on the thigh, is then going to go to a wrestling match. So he told me that he wrestled my older brother, Jay, and he wrestled my next door neighbor, Jeff. Jeff and Jay were inseparable. They were same age, same grade, in the Scouts together. And he says to me, I wrestled Jeff and Jay. Let's see how tough you are. And I'm like, okay. And at first he would let me dominate, let's say, you know, get the upper hand on him. And then, like I said, that light switch would go off and his eyes would turn dark and black. And he would pin me to the ground and he'd get his hulking 265-pound body on top of me and start gyrating and moving and grooving. And looking back on it at the time, not really realizing what he was doing, but he was erect. And this was getting him off.
And you're 11, so you're tiny.
I was 10 when that started happening, when the wrestling started.
I mean,
my
he's
gosh.
like 3, 4, 5 times your size.
Yeah, I mean, and because of I was a sick little kid when I was young. Like, you know, I was in the hospital
monster.
constantly with the flu and bronchitis and anything because of the hole in my heart. They would put me into the hospital immediately. I'd be in an oxygen tent, and you know, so I was constantly in the hospital, and I had to be careful for a long while after surgery with playing. There was some limitations put on me by the doctors, you know, so I was just a small little kid back then, sick kid. And this guy just took advantage of that. And he could tell, like, I was insecure, you know, because my scar made me stand out. And they looked for something, like, to separate the weak from the pack, you know, like any predator does. And my scar was, you know, and my insecurities about it is how he separated me from the pack. And wrestling was the next avenue of physical touch. He's devoted 4 years now of stories and secrets, alcohol, pornography, and now it's time to get back to touch.
There's a part where in your book, your memoir, you talk about how he pinned you down and he says something along the lines of like, come on, you can get out, come on, squirm. Do you feel like he is getting off on you
Most
struggling
definitely.
or
Yeah, it's exactly what he was doing. You know, he would get me down. You know, like I would be in the dominating position on top of him, and then all of a sudden the light switch goes, and he would get rough with me, and like sort of throw me down, my 10-year-old body, throw me down and get on top, and be commanding me to try harder to get out, squirm more, move more, you know, because he's wanting me to move against him and what he has going on.
he comes over for Christmas. What does he get you as a Christmas present?
I had a Boy Scout hunting knife, is what they were called. And he brought me a whetstone sharpening kit to sharpen the hunting knife. And over him drinking, you know, a glass or two of eggnog at our house, he taught me over the next hour, you know, keep the blade at, you know, an 18-degree angle, how to drive it, you know, across the stone, you know, with oil you got to use, and
July 77.
and then he would have me do it, and taught me how to get a perfect blade on my hunting knife. And that was something I kept perfectly sharp my whole life.
The hunting knife?
Yeah.
What happens when you're 12 and what happens to Dennis's dog as well? I know that there was like a hunting ploy excuse of like, you're gonna pretend to be shot in the woods because my buddy shoots everyone without thinking.
So at 12, he concocted this whole big hunting ruse of having a friend who just aimed and shot without knowing if it was safe to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, we've got to correct my friend from this bad habit, and I'm gonna use you as a decoy out in the woods. You're gonna be laying there with fake blood on you, and I'm gonna take him out hunting, and he's gonna do his, you know, typical shoot, and then we're gonna come upon you lying there with fake blood, and you need to practice gurgling sounds, like you're
What the
gurgling
heck?
blood. You know, your death rattle, he called it. You have to practice your death rattle. So he got me down at the lake one day, got me back to his house. We're going to practice your death rattle at the house. And instead
What
of
is this?
offering
The
me
podcast?
beer,
Thanks for the
he
follow.
offered me
Appreciate that.
blackberry brandy, you know, a glass of blackberry
The
brandy
podcast
with a
is
beer. And he told me to chug it. And then he gave me another thing of brandy. And his house was, it was a summer day, but his house was like way hotter inside than outside. And in my adult mind now, looking back, I'm like, did he have his heat on? Did he like purposely turn his heat on in his house to make it sweltering, knowing what he had concocted? Like I say, with a predator, you never know what they're thinking. So his house is boiling. We're sweating. He wants me to lay down on his bed to practice my breathing.
Work.
And it goes to, it's so hot in here, let's just take our shirt and pants off, our shorts off.
Jeez.
And then it goes to, he's behind me, has me in a bear hug, and me. And I'm screaming, I'm crying. And he had a dog, which is called a coonhound. And coonhounds have this long, drawn-out howl they do. And as I'm being raped, I hear his dog howling away because of my cries and screams. And it didn't stop this guy until he was done doing what he wanted to do with me. And afterwards, he sat me down at his kitchen table and got another beer, like almost like we were two lovers who just had a romantic tryst together. And he brought his dog over to me.
I don't know that reference.
And said, I want to show you what will happen to you if you ever open your mouth about what just occurred.
Jeez.
Introducing Gemini in Gmail, AI that thoughtfully summarizes conversations and helps craft professional responses so you can stay ahead of that never-ending inbox. Make emailing the easiest part of your day with Gemini for
That is
Google
evil.
Workspace.
Oh boy.
For years, you've been at war with your bra. They told you underwire for support, right? Wrong. You're pinched, you're poked, you're strangled. So you go braless. Now you're drooping, you're chafing, your back, it's aching. But what if underwire didn't have to be the enemy? Meet FlexWire by Understance. Flexible, gentle, conforms to you. Bras that support without the suffering. Available at understance.com in 28 to 48 A to N cups.
And he started to beat his dog, and I'm crying and screaming and begging him to please stop. And he wouldn't until the dog lay in a heap at my feet. Now,
That is messed up.
I was just contacted just 2 days before this interview by a gentleman who, when he was 17 years old, needed a place to stay, and he stayed at Dennis Pegg's house for 6 months. And he said it was the most bizarre 6 months of his life. He said the guy was a complete freak. He said one thing that happened, though, is now, when he was 17, he's 10 years older than me. I would have been 7 back then. When he me would be 5 years later. Mm-hmm. So this dog would be 5 years old. And this guy said Dennis got this coonhound puppy when I lived with him, and it peed on the rug, and he beat the puppy so bad we had to take it to the vet to save its life. So even as a puppy, he beat it for simply doing what puppies do and peed on a rug. And then this is the same dog 5 years later that he beat and probably killed in front of me.
You never saw the dog again?
No. And a lady, a female guard who worked with him at the jail, told me how Dennis came in one day, all distraught, that his beloved coonhound dog Duke died. And we all gave him hugs and tears, and we all loved dogs. We were all dog people. And she goes, I am horrified to think that's because of what he did in front of you, that he killed Duke.
It says in your book that you felt guilty over what happened to the dog. Is that?
I felt he only did that to Duke because of my cries and screams. And if I hadn't cried and screamed during the...
Oh my gosh. It's not your fault, man. That guy's a sick guy.
That, what he did to Duke wouldn't have happened.
Do you still feel that way, or?
Yeah. I mean, he might have had that planned. Well, he couldn't determine if Duke was going to cry or not. Like I said, with a predator, you never know. But yeah, I still feel guilty for Duke.
Not your fault, man.
Do you feel like Duke had more humanity than Dennis in that moment?
I feel Duke and I were the only two in that room who had humanity. And that's saying a lot since Duke's a dog. Dennis, I feel, lost his humanity a long time ago. As soon as you dedicate your life to hunting children and them, you really can't say you have humanity. That's pure evil to me. If you're going to define what the devil is really the guy with a smile on his face who's charismatic, outgoing, friendly, charming, who everybody loves, who's involved in all these organizations, who's on the historical board but who's
Hello?
only doing those things to fool people
Hello?
of his true nature.
What changed after that day?
My life was
I'm
forever
good.
altered after that day. My whole trajectory in life changed that day.
I'm not interested
Nothing
in
would be
changing
the
my
same.
phone provider right
I
now.
would tell
Thank you, though.
myself
Not interested in changing my phone
that
provider right
talking
now. Thank you,
about
though.
what just
Have a good day.
happened would be reliving it, and we were never going to do that. We could just bury this down deep inside and go about our life. I convinced myself that that's what I could do. I led the most exhausting life because I would crank on a smile to the world. And inside, I was completely broken and destroyed. And I went through that way my whole life until I couldn't keep it up any longer.
How many years passed since you're 12 and then the day that you see Dennis Pegg at Quick Check?
I was 45 when I saw him at the Quick Check. So you're talking 33 years.
33 years, he's probably still hunting kids.
Yes.
And then there is a day that comes where you effectively hunt the hunter. You step into Quick Check. What happens there? It's like a gas station. It's a convenience store.
Yeah, this one was just a convenience store. They have gas stations now. They're a lot larger, but this was just a convenience store in a little like 4-store mall. I'm getting a coffee. I'm at the coffee island making a coffee. The front door opens. I think it had a bell on it, so it made me look up. And I look up, and I look into Dennis Pegg's eyes. He sees me, and he yells out to me, "Hey, how are you, buddy?"
Thanks for the follow. Appreciate that.
And I instantly start going into a panic attack. I can tell just by the way he said, "Hey, buddy," that he's going to come over to me. I had seen Dennis around our town over those 33 years. I recall once in a bar after college. Me and my buddies were in a bar, and as soon as we ordered a beer, I get a pat on my shoulder, and it's Dennis Pegg. And I chug my beer, and I tell my buddies, we're going.
There's no shame.
No remorse, no shame,
Thanks for
no
the likes.
guilt.
Appreciate that, guys. Thank you.
Predators, they don't ever show that. So I had seen him around town, but it had been probably 10 years since I saw him. And what was different this time in that Quick Check, which completely unraveled me, was that he had a young boy by his side, probably close to the age he me at, and that young boy called him the same nickname Dennis used to make me call him. And I heard that nickname, and I saw that young boy, and it just ripped open everything for those 33 years that I told myself I could bury down and go about my life. When he would touch me, I would freeze. I would stiffen like a board, and I felt my muscles it's like a paralysis. And I felt that coming on me, and I felt it hard to breathe. And the thoughts in my mind, just like your mind starts swirling where you can't even think. And I'm like, I got to get out of here before I completely freeze. And this guy grabs me, and I just left my coffee and whatever stuff I had on the island there, and I ran out past him. We sort of shoulder bumped a little, and he's like, "Where are you going? Where are you going, buddy? Come here." And I ran out, and I hopped in my truck, and I sped out of the parking lot, and I went down the road, and my life unraveled. Just completely unraveled.
Do you think you saw yourself in the little boy? Is that, or you just felt
No, but the
protective
rifle
of the little
sounds like
boy?
That's
Did
crazy.
you
I
have-
couldn't get out of my mind over the next months that boy, and wondering what part of the grooming process is he? Is he being shown Polaroid pictures? Is he having beers in his truck? Is he at the wrestling stage? Is he teaching his buddy had a shoot right in the woods by lying there with fake blood on him, and doing the death rattle in his bed. You know, it haunted me.
Oh, thanks for the follow. Appreciate that, guys.
I couldn't even work any longer.
Awesome.
Like,
Oh.
I was in business with my brother. We had Tire Automotive Center.
It's Chun-Li's different version.
And
My
I walked
interpretation
out
of
one
Chun-Li.
day, and
So
I
thanks for
just
following.
couldn't go to
Appreciate
work
that, guys.
anymore. I was having to drink before work, just to go into work. You know, instead of filling my coffee mug with coffee, I was so out of sorts. I'm filling it with alcohol, and I'm doing other drugs, cocaine. So I walked out of the business with my brother, and now
Hi,
I've
welcome,
got
welcome.
free time on my hand, which is never good when you have
How are you?
trauma.
Welcome to the stream.
And I've got Dennis Pegg in the forefront of my mind. I've got that little boy
Yeah, I
in the
work on the
forefront of my
Bengals.
mind. And I had zero coping skills throughout my whole life. Like mindfulness, like all these foreign terms, I never incorporated it, you know.
Sure.
I just dove headfirst into drugs and alcohol, like literally around the clock. Just one drug on its own wasn't enough. So I'm just taking any drug I can get to try to numb myself, to try to block the thoughts from.
Grammarly is an AI writing partner that works seamlessly with your everyday apps and helps professionals write better and faster so they can get all of their work done or do anything really that you have to do. Let's be real, writing to your manager
is there a
versus writing to your
personal
mom are
policy?
two different things, and you want to have different tones, and so you need a little bit of assistance to ensure that you can draft.
You start unraveling after quick check, but then there's a guy that you see smirking. Who is this guy? You see him smirking on TV. What happens?
Yeah, I was in bad shape. You know, I wasn't sleeping much because of all
Oh,
the
you're
thing I'm doing. And I put on my TV, and it's Jerry Sandusky, the start of his molestation trial. Jerry Sandusky was one of the coaches at Penn State University, and he was running a football camp for young boys, and over the course of years, decade plus, molesting boys at his football camp. He was finally facing trial for that, and his trial was starting on June 12th of 2012, and I saw him on the news get out of his lawyer's car and smirking and buttoning his coat jacket.
I don't know what to say.
And I just started yelling curses at my TV and spitting on my bedroom floor because I saw Dennis Pegg as him. I felt Dennis Pegg was never going to face justice.
It's like a similar smirk that they have? Is it
Yeah, you know, they can never let their guard down. They'll never apologize to you. Like, victims always reach out to me and say, I want to go confront my abuser. And I'm just like, don't. You're going to get re-abused because they'll never give you the answer you want to hear. It's not worth your time. And so they keep that air about them. Dennis Pegg in that deli like calls out to me like we're best friends. I'm a victim of his. Like, what are you doing? Like, and Sandusky's getting out smirking as his trial's starting. And that just infuriated me. I spent the rest of the day out with a couple friends drinking, and me sneaking drugs. You know, I got to go out and make a phone call. You know, in my truck. I'll be right back. So, and I'd go out and do coke and pop a Xanax. And I had someone. I stopped at an Italian restaurant on the way home that night. I was meeting a buddy at my house, who I had lent money to, and he was going to power wash the cedar siding of my house and stain it as repayment. So I was meeting him at home, but I stopped at this Italian restaurant, and there was a guy in there who burned me on a business deal, a motorcycle deal. I took out a $33,000 loan to have him build me this custom motorcycle, and he took the money, my money and a couple other people's money, and closed up shop in the middle of the night, then left town. And all of a sudden, here he was in this Italian restaurant. So I went up to him and had words with him. and he was with his family. So I said, out of respect for your family, I'm not going to take this any further, but, you got to pay me, And he just told me to get lost, So I get home and I tell my buddy about seeing that guy. And, we unloaded the equipment first, and we're having a glass of wine at the kitchen table. And my buddy goes to me, that guy's got to be number one on your hit list. And it's been 33 years since I was, and I've never told anyone. And for whatever reason, I couldn't stop the words coming out of my mouth. I just said, actually, he's number 2 on my hit list. The piece of garbage who me as a young boy is number 1. And there's
something so heavy like that you can't talk about.
The air was like heavy, like time stopped. The clock stopped on the wall, and we're just like, you and I are sitting across from each other on a table, and we're just staring at each other. And he's like, are you for real, or are you messing with me?
So this is the first time in 30 years that you tell anyone?
Yeah. To be exact, 33 years. Yeah.
You tell Bob, it just happens. You don't even decide. It's not like...
Yeah, it just came out before I could even stop my mouth from speaking. I was just so tired and exhausted and beaten down from drugs, and seeing that other guy inflamed me at the Italian restaurant, and it just came flying out.
Who is the first to talk, you or Bob?
Bob's, as I recall, is the first to say, are you for real? And I'm like, yeah, I'm for real. And then he's like, who is he? I'm like, he was my Boy Scout leader. And where did it happen? When did it happen? So I'm just saying, and he's like, where does he live? And I'm like, he lives 2 miles from here. And I think at that point I said to him, you know what, it's time to go confront this guy. Ever since seeing him with that boy in that quick check, I've just been haunted, and I'm like, it's time to go confront him. Now, Dennis Pegg, he had retired from the sheriff's department, but he was still the firearms instructor. Everybody in law enforcement has to get recertified with their handgun every year, and he was the firearms instructor for 2 counties, Sussex and Morris. So every cop, every sheriff's officer had to go to him to get recertified. So the guy was a complete gun nut. And I told Bob that, and I said, we ought to take something with us. I gave Bob a steak knife, and I went under my bed to where I kept that Boy Scout hunting knife he taught me how to sharpen, and I grabbed that. Now, Stephanie, basically this was a suicide mission. A steak knife, a hunting knife, against a guy who had 33 guns in his house. Shotguns, rifles, and over a dozen handguns. If you were doing what he was doing for 45 years, you would think he would have a gun at the ready under every table, on every armrest, on every couch cushion. You would think my time, I'm rolling the dice here 45 years in. I better be ready. So it should have been a suicide mission when I went there.
What did Bob say when you made that suggestion?
I just handed him the knife and I said, I'm going to go get my hunting knife. And that was
That's a
pretty
real
much
bro.
it. It wasn't, it wasn't like a long drawn out thing where we're crossing our T's and dotting our I's, and this is how this is going to happen, and that's how that's going to happen. It was just I'm like, let me just go confront this piece of garbage, and we'll take these with us.
And it's a 6-inch hunting knife, right?
Yeah.
Was that the biggest knife you had, or was it more so poetic justice because
that's
he
what
was
I
teaching you
said.
to sharpen that specific knife, or you had no thoughts? You're like, let me just grab a knife.
I would think it's subconscious, poetic justice. Take this with you.
So you have no plan, just a knife.
Have you ever thought about making homemade
That's
jam?
crazy.
It's super simple. Anyone can do it. Turn your favorite seasonal fruit.
You guys drive to Dennis's house. At what point are you like, maybe this is not a good plan?
No.
They're too deep.
Like I said, he had a long driveway. It had a 90-degree turn in it. Bob pulled up there, and at the 90-degree turn, stopped, went up the driveway. His front door was open, and there he is sitting. Like, he had a storm door. It's a summer night, so the storm door's shut. I mentioned earlier, you know, like the definition of a devil. Well, to me, it looked like the devil sitting in his lair. That's all I saw. But seeing him, this is the first time I'm back at that house in 33 years since what happened with me and the dog. I never went back to that house. And I instantly started going into that panic attack again. Just breathing got real hard, and I feel like rigor mortis in my muscles. And before I completely froze, I walked up to his door, that storm door, and ripped it open, broke the hinge. And I'm standing in his doorway. It's 9:30, 9:45 at night, and there's somebody you ripped in your doorway who just ripped open your door. And he casually looks over his shoulder at me and goes, "Hey, how are you?" And it just seemed like the most incredulous thing to say in that moment. But again, they can never let their guard down. Like a normal person would like get on their hands and knees and start praying like, "Oh my God, I wronged you. I'm so sorry. I know why you're here. Please forgive me.
Not this guy.
I'm sick. I need help. Come in, let's talk." No.
Do you think if he did that, anything would be different?
Guy's a monster.
If someone's down on their hands and knees praying at you, begging for forgiveness.
Thanks for the follow. Appreciate that, Purple.
Yeah.
So he just says, "Hey,
How are you?"
what happens next?"
We all have two faces. The face we show the world and the face
Thanks for the
behind
follow.
closed doors.
Yuka?
I've been showing the world that one face, and no one for 33 years has seen the face behind closed doors.
Now I'm going to do...
Dennis is now going to see my other face. The face filled with rage. The face filled with hate. The face filled with anger. And I said, "Hey, how am I? Let me show you how the hell I am."
That is crazy.
And I raced across his room. He stood up, and a violent struggle started. I started slashing at him with the knife. He started punching me. A violent, bloody brawl ensued. At one point, he connected with he's still this monster hulking guy. And he connects with a square shot to my jaw. And as I'm falling down, I grab his shirt to keep from falling down. And I bring the knife down, and that's when I'm holding his shirt, and that's where it goes straight through and straight out and into his skin.
Ooh.
Just a little.
That's crazy.
We continue going at it, and I mean, we're talking minutes here. It's not like a long, drawn out thing. Maybe 3-4 minutes.
Well, I guess not
2 minutes, 3 minutes. It was quick. And he slips in the blood, and he falls down, and it's a mix of our blood. Like I'm gushing blood now. And he's up against the wall. I lean down in front of him. I got eye to eye with him. And I said, "It's not so fun raising little boys now, is it, Dennis?" And I slit his throat.
Ooh.
And Bob was standing in the doorway, wide-eyed. And I said, "Go get the van and bring it up." Because I had one more thing I wanted to do. I walked over to the bedroom. He me in, and I spit on the bed. The answer to everyone's question is, did this solve everything?
Okay, Google, stop.
No, it didn't solve everything.
Jeez.
You don't heal from trauma by adding more trauma. You don't heal from sexual abuse by murdering someone. It's not how you heal. I stopped the predator from ever harming another young boy. 45 years was long enough of raping young boys. It should never have came to that. It would be uncovered that multiple boys over the years had come forward and filed lawsuits against him, and he got out from every one of them. But I did what I did, and I knew walking out of his house that night that my life was over. You can't have the wound I have and just show up at a hospital and be like, I was cutting a steak and drove a 6-inch hunting knife through my hand and severed all the ligaments and tendons. I need help.
Did you think about doing that though?
I knew it wasn't an option. I just knew things were never going to be the same again.
So at no point during this altercation, and I know minutes are brief, but at no point he doesn't apologize.
No, there was just, the only words he said was, hey, how are you? And throughout the whole attack, he made like a high-pitched squeal. He never uttered a word like stop, let's talk, don't do this, nothing. There was no words, just a high-pitched squeal. Like a wounded animal almost. Not one other word other than that initial thing when I was standing in his doorway.
Did you feel like you're in control of your movements at that time, or did you feel like you're
No,
watching
you got
from the outside
overtaken
in?
by-
Or you're just like on autopilot? What is that?
Autopilot.
Yeah, I definitely wasn't in control of my movements or any. It was like something had taken over my body.
Yeah.
And
Yep. You don't even know what's going on. You don't even realize you're over there.
Would I be honest if I said I had a
Unless you're a
out-of-body
positive second.
experience during that? No, I wouldn't be honest. But it was like
When he's
that. It was
describing
like-
it's a scary thing.
It was like looking at this reel going on, and
like-
just like that's how I.
When you get overtaken with emotion or rage or something, especially something you've been holding on for years, whatever, like what he's describing is like, it feels like you're before you realize you're yelling or confronting a person, you're already in their face, and you don't realize how you got there. It's crazy. What he's describing. What that guy did is evil. That's a monster. He could have avenged that little kid when he was young. He's not a little kid anymore. Just desserts.
When I look back at it, like I can't believe what happened. I can't believe that I got to that point of brokenness to go do that and potentially flush my whole life away just from
You don't even realize
never
it's going on
healing
that
from trauma. It's
Thanks for the follow.
keeping
Appreciate
the
that.
secret and not addressing it and not trying to grow from it or heal from it or learn from
that'll
it
eat you up
or do
inside.
anything
For years.
other than let it just poison my system for decades. And that's what it did. And that's the part that I look back on now. And I just like, man, I probably would have died of a drug overdose. And everybody would have been like, oh my God, Clark had a great education and he was so popular. And what,
Yeah, we don't know
what did he
people are dealing
go
with
die of a
inside.
drug overdose from? I mean, that's where my life was headed.
Are you saying that even when you killed Dennis, you didn't even feel a moment of relief?
No, there was no relief because of the wound I had, because of how gory and horrific killing someone was. Again, I don't view Dennis as having humanity, but it hurts your soul to kill somebody. It's not therapeutic in any way.
Yeah,
it's not healing. Like
No, it's not.
damages your psyche. It damages your soul. It hurts.
Those are the men
And
that
I
want
had
that.
to be completely broken to go do that.
Thanks for the follow. Appreciate that, guys.
To perfection.
I'm gonna try and finish this on the next stream, but I am running out of time. I'm gonna go for another 10 more or 20 more minutes. But I
Do
should
you
get
have
going soon.
nightmares about it, or
No.
But I'm gonna keep going for now.
No, I
Welcome
don't.
to the stream.
I don't
Welcome,
give
everybody.
him- Again, if I killed an innocent person, that would haunt me. If I killed a human, that would haunt me.
Yes, I will.
I don't view Dennis as an innocent person or a human.
Why did you walk to the
The
bedroom?
monster.
That was to go spit on the bed he raped me in.
at what point were you like, I'm gonna spit on this bed? Like, was it just like,
I don't know what came over me. Like, you know, again, it's not like Bob and I sat at the kitchen table, like across from each other, like you and I are. And I said, yeah, after I do this, 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 and this, then in my bloody footprints, I'm going to walk to the bed. He spit me on, or ripped me on and spit on the bed, you know? So like, I don't know what possessed me to go do that. It's something to just bring things full circle and to a closure. I needed to do that.
did it bring closure?
I thought it brought complete closure, like, to my life and his. Like, there was 2 deaths that day. The life I had been living up to that point, I could never go back to living the way I was. And I literally thought,
Thanks for the follow.
I
Appreciate that,
forfeit
guys.
the rest of my life. I'll either kill myself or spend the rest of my life in prison. I forfeited any healthy, happy life to just put an end to his reign of
That's
terror.
crazy.
That's what I thought.
It's interesting because, like, when I'm reading your memoir and going through that moment,
Is that the bang
I
this
mean,
time?
the way that it's written, I feel
I
like
haven't
I'm
did the
there.
gold trimming
I'm
on
obviously
the,
not experiencing
shorts
like the
again. Thanks
depth
for the
of
follow. Appreciate that,
emotions,
guys.
but it feels very. I'm there with you. It almost feels therapeutic when you spit on his bed. And it's like kind of interesting
Just gonna
because I know
save
you
you real
don't
quick.
advocate for people to
Gonna
do
go for
and
another
follow
10 more
those steps,
minutes.
but it just, I guess it was relief
By
for
the
the
way,
reader.
listen to a podcast
There's some sort
by
of poetic justice in doing that.
Ron Mango about a guy who confronted his molester and he unalived him. Very intense. Like, it's crazy what happens in the world. Praise the Lord. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate that, guys. Honestly, thank you. All right, we'll keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just backing up,
I
seeing my
think if
files.
everybody, and it's a lot of everybody's. If they could spit on the bed they were raped in, they would want to do it.
You have a hole in your hand. You drive home, and you say you need to tell your mom. What is the thinking behind that? You're telling your mom because you don't know what's gonna happen next, or?
Yeah, my mom had just come up from Florida. You know, welcome home, Mom. Oh man, and I called my best friend at the time and the girl I was dating and asked them to come over because I just my life's over, Steph. You know, like am I gonna kill myself after this, or am I gonna spend life in prison? It's one of those 2 things. So let me say goodbye to my buddy. Let me say goodbye to my girlfriend. And let me get my mother up and say goodbye to her. Because this isn't going to turn out good.
And your mom she's 80. How old was she at the time? Do you recall?
Yeah, like 81 maybe.
And so your plan is, I'm going to wake my mom up, tell her goodbye. But your mom's plan is, I'm going to clean up the blood and we're going to run. We're going to get away with murder together.
Yeah, Mom's like, we're getting away with murder. You know, she was, oh man. I guess it's good to laugh about it now, right?
So she wakes up and you tell her what happened. You still don't tell her.
The thing is, I couldn't even tell her then that I was raped by Dennis. I still couldn't.
All right,
couldn't
we'll keep
bring it
going,
out. And she was like dumbfounded. Why would you go do this? Why? And I said, to avenge a lot of other kids in this town. And she goes, still, why you? Why are you the avenger? Why? I don't get it. Why? And I couldn't tell her, like, for raping me too, Mom. I still couldn't say it, even though I told it to my buddy earlier. She
Oh, 'cause the one looking at you
helped me
different.
upstairs. I wrapped my hand in duct tape, which fixes everything. So I wrapped it with paper towel and duct tape, and took a couple Xanax, and went to bed. And my mother went downstairs and started scrubbing the floors all night long to get the blood up.
And so she's like, we're going on the run, but you wake up and the cops are surrounding.
Yeah. She told my sister that she was going to take me and we were going to go on the run.
I know, it says in the book you guys are thinking the end of the world, which is Florida.
Right.
You guys are going to go to Florida.
Yeah.
No, I like the plan. I think your mom is really adorable. I mean, I was just so fascinated by your mother because, you know, she's cleaning up the blood. She's ready to go Bonnie and Clyde with you. And then the cops come the next morning. They've got on the loudspeakers. They're saying, Clark, come out. And she's like, no, the neighbors are going to hear. Your mom is so fascinating.
She said to one of the troopers as I was still in my bedroom, what are the neighbors going to think? He's like, ma'am, I really don't give a damn what the neighbors think.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so you see the cops outside.
So they took her out. Like,
okay.
they took her out of the house.
And they're like, you look out the window and they're
All right,
just like,
we're back.
trying to be sneaky, trying to.
Yeah, they're like I said, they're hiding behind trees. You know, they don't know
what's inside.
What I have, if I'm loaded up with a AR-15 or what my mental state is. You know, they've got a dead body.
Yeah.
So every one of them has their gun drawn. Everyone's taking, you know, some sort of protection. There's this big rock to the left of the yard, and there's trees, and there's the shed out back, and they're just all behind everything, and then they're behind their cars lining the street, and I just couldn't believe it. I was lying in bed like, how are we gonna get out of this? Like, how are we gonna get out of this? And like, there's gotta be a way out of this. And before I could even possibly think of any way out of this, the cops are there, and I'm just, and your stomach just drops, and you're just like, it's over, bro. It's over. And all I could think, you know, they ordered me out of the house over a bullhorn, and as I walked to that front door, I just called out to God, let one of these guys kill me when I step out. Like it's over. It's over, God. Like, I don't want to do life in prison. Just take me now. And let him shoot me when I walk out. And I stepped out that front door with my state police shirt on that I put on. And I put my arms out to the side. And I just sort of tilted my head back, and I just waited for the crack of a gun. And it never came. And instead, I was ordered off my porch, down to her front lawn, spread eagle, handcuffed, and taken away.
Were you disappointed when you didn't hear a shot go off?
Yeah. Because in that ride to the police barracks was like the longest ride of my life, and I'm just like, man, one of these guys couldn't kill me, put me out of my misery. Like, I'll have to find a way in prison to do it. I'll have to take care of this myself.
You killed a cop. You're arrested by a bunch of cops. You're about to go to the jail that cop worked at. Things are not looking good.
No, things are
Understatement
definitely not
of the
looking
year.
good. Yeah. That's crazy.
But there are some cops, some detectives who seem to...
Bras can be the stuff of nightmares. Is there anything more annoying than slipping shoulder straps or the constant pain from stabby underwire? Don't even get us started on bra shopping. Don't worry.
That's crazy.
We've got you covered. No more bra nightmares with Understance.
they give you some sage advice in that weird moment. What happens there? Like, what was the energy? Like, are all the arresting officers, do you feel like hatred dripping off of them because you killed a cop? Or do you not even notice what their energy is? What is that dynamic?
Well, I'm thinking like I'm public enemy number one amongst law enforcement. I just killed one of their own. And yet at the state police barracks, this lieutenant, Howie Ryan, comes in and goes, I have to apologize to you. And I'm like, what are you apologizing to me for? And he's like, I've heard rumors about Dennis Pegg for a long time. And he goes, I want to apologize to you for never stopping him. He goes, I can't arrest somebody on rumors. I need victims. I need cold, hard facts. And I had neither of those. And I apologize to you. And then he left the room. And at first, Steph, I felt, wow, that's pretty cool. And then I'm like, just started fuming. I'm like, even the state police knew. Everybody knew about Dennis Pegg and young boys. Everybody's got a story.
Thanks for appreciate
state
that.
Police just admitted they knew. And yet, I'm the one.
Sorry, my life accident. Thanks
just
for
had to
appreciate
flush his
that.
life away and look at life in prison to stop him. Like, and they knew.
I like that culture.
And then, so I went from feeling good for a second, getting really pissed off for another second, and then I'm like, what's it matter anyway? I'm done. I'm done. When that cop Howie Ryan came back in the room, he could see that I had like mailed it in. He said, I could tell you were done. And he goes, something moved in me that even though you thought you were done, I didn't think you were done. And he said, look, I've got your DNA all over that crime scene. He was in charge of the CSI team that worked Pegg's house. He's like, your blood's everywhere. He goes, this isn't a whodunit. He goes, but that doesn't necessarily mean your life's over. My detectives and detectives from the prosecutor's office are in another room waiting to interrogate you. He goes, if you go in that room and open up your mouth, you could potentially destroy the rest of your life. He goes, I'm telling you right now, go in there, exercise your Fifth Amendment right, request a lawyer, and just keep your mouth shut. Stay quiet. And I said to him, but I don't have a lawyer. And he goes,
yes, you do.
I'm going to take care of that for you. He goes, I'm going to get you a lawyer. And he left the room, and on his cell phone, he called one of the big lawyers in our county and said, I need you to fax over to the state police barracks, a retainer for somebody, like, immediately. And the lawyer said, who is he and what did he do? And he goes, Clark Frederick's murder. And he goes, okay then. And had a thing over in a couple minutes.
So he tells you not to talk. Do you listen to him?
I do.
Right when you get arrested, it seems like the whole town is divided. A lot of people feel like you did this for very nefarious reasons. Other people start hearing what Dennis has been doing around town. Do you feel like at any point were there just dividing opinions? Did it feel like everybody had their own thought about what the motive was?
Yeah, there were some vocal people on his side who were pro Dennis, who just like referred to me as a drunk drug addict who just killed a great man. You know, like yeah, I just woke up one day and said, Dennis Pegg, I'm going to go kill you for no reason. Before it like really started coming out about what happened, you know, because there were the little old ladies on the historical society that worked with him were like, he was such a sweet man. You know, the mayor in Stowell at the time was like, oh, he was a giant of a human being.
They didn't know the story. Because he hit his monster
people like Howie Ryan are like, no, I knew all about rumors about this guy. Your audience is going to have to get the book because there's a line from Howie Ryan in the book to the prosecutor. It's one of the greatest lines you will ever hear. I don't want to give it away. It's it's the most powerful line you will ever read. said by him.
We will put the page number so you guys can go get it.
Yeah.
And I will tell you what page, because I know
You know exactly what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what line
That was
you're
a powerful
talking about.
line,
Yeah.
right?
No,
Like, it's
that
an
was
unbelievable line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At that point, once you've been arrested, you're facing first-degree murder charge initially. So you're facing life in prison.
Life in prison.
And you have an attorney, and they're saying, have a little hope, but not too much hope.
Yeah, you know, and it's funny that the lawyer Howie Ryan at the barracks called George Daggett, who sent the retainer over. I never even interviewed him at the jail as one of my lawyers. I don't know why, but I interviewed a bunch of other lawyers, and you know, one lawyer just wanted to get me bailed out. We'll get you bailed out of here in 3 days. Like, and I'm like, all right. And then this other lawyer came in all flashy with his, you know, gold jewelry, Rolex watch, and he's listing all these cases he's worked. And I knew the cases, and he lost them all. But in my head, I'm like, but you lost all those, you know? Yeah. Like, so I'm like, and then this guy Dan Perez came in. He just looked like a really good guy, you know, like really down to earth. And he came in and he said, I think we can have a valid defense for this. And I was like, really? He goes, yeah. He goes, you know, it's not going to be easy, but I don't think your life is over. I was like, really? I'm like, you're hired. What's that?
During that time, Dennis had a security deposit box that the police go through.
Yeah.
And they find a bunch of letters.
Right.
That he wrote 10 years before he died?
Correct. And when he was in his young to mid 50s, healthy.
They all have some variation of pray for me. I hope I didn't disappoint you. Forgive me for any failings. Do you think some of these letters are to victims?
Yeah. Yep. And like, they're creepy. There's something really creepy about them. Like, weird. And the prosecutor told me after the fact that he thinks there was 14 of them in there, that 13 were probably victims. Would you ever think, like right now, to like write letters to people in case you die? No. He was 50 something years old. Like what would make you do that?
And he does keep writing, interestingly, like, if I go to heaven, pray for me. But if you're already dead, I don't know what exactly he's asking for in prayer.
Yeah.
Is it to get to heaven? It's weird.
Yeah, it was, I read those and it just like left me feeling yucky. Like,
yeah.
And then if you assume that they're to victims, like, I tried my best. I thought we were family. Forgive me for shortcomings. What are your shortcomings?
How many victims do you think that he had?
My buddy's wife is the sheriff's secretary, and she sat in on every meeting with the sheriff in the early days, and they estimate well over 100.
One of the other victims is very close to you. Family relation. Who was that?
My brother.
What happened to your brother?
My arrest opened up my brother's Pandora's box. You know, like seeing that boy in that deli open my box up. My arrest opened my brother's box up, and my brother wasn't ready to face it.
Grammarly integrates with pretty much any app you use. It can look at whatever you're writing, and it will automatically suggest spelling and grammatical changes that you could potentially make. And if you want, you can always highlight the text, and then the AI writing assistant can improve whatever you've written for you. But where Grammarly really shines is in Grammarly Pro. Firstly, there is the goals feature. So the idea here is that whenever you are writing anything, you can set a goal for whatever the thing is that you're writing. And so you can select the domain, so academic, business, general, email, casual, creative. You can set your intent, so informing, describing, convincing, telling a story. You can define what kind of audience you're writing for, so general, knowledgeable, or
He wasn't ready to handle it, didn't want to deal with it. You know, like I told myself at 12, we're just going to bury this and go about our life. Well, that's what my brother had done his whole life. And everyone urged him to get help, to see a therapist. And my brother did what I did, was to numb himself. And I found him dead on our kitchen floor a couple of years ago from drinking himself to death.
This is going to be a 2-part interview. This is part 1.
Do I
In
want
part
the
2, we're going
chain
to
or do I
ask
want-
Clark about how and why the FBI came to him to warn him that someone put a hit out on his life. He has, there's his entire journey, or I guess more so fight in prison, trying to get through it while he's surrounded by criminals who are accused of doing the very thing that Dennis Pegg did, which is harm children. There are letters that Dennis Pegg left his presumed victims in his safety deposit box, and how someone very close to Clark is killed by Dennis Pegg after Clark gets out of prison. Like, how does that even happen? We're going to go through all of that in part 2. Also, how the hell does Clark get out of prison when he's facing a first-degree murder charge and life in prison? That will all be asked in part 2. But in the meantime, if you feel like you can't wait for those answers, which same, you can get Clark's memoir. It's probably the most intense memoir that I've ever read, and I've read copious amounts of memoirs before. There are just so many aspects of his story that aren't included in our episodes that you can find in depth in his book. I think I finished the whole book the first time around in like 4 hours. It was one of my quickest reads.
Hello, welcome.
There's something about it where I don't know how Clark
I
does
need to
this,
finish
but
this today.
every time you catch
But
yourself
I am running short
feeling
on
like,
time.
okay,
I'm gonna finish it
there's
on
a
my
black
next
hole that
stream.
we've now went into, there's no way out of it. You get out, and then there's just like another black hole, and it is like the most intense emotional journey that I have ever been on. You can also find Clark on his social media accounts and his own podcast, which I will link below. But with that being said, that is part 1 of the 2-part series of the story of Clark Fredericks. And I will see you in part 2.
Okay. Alrighty, guys. I'm gonna have to end my stream here for now. I'm gonna come back to it later. So I'm gonna end my stream here. Thanks for watching, and all those that follow. Thank you, appreciate that. You guys see you on the next stream. I am starting a new drawing. I started it from last night. So if I don't come back to this, it'll probably be the new drawing. But if you want to see the finished artwork and stuff, feel free to follow me on my Instagram, Blue Sky, Tumblr, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, Patreon profiles. All the same name. Giovanni Hall Art. Thanks as well. Alright, see you guys in the next one. Have a good one. Bye. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate that. Yeah. Alright, see you guys. Bye.